I see my face. Hi, everybody. How you doing? Happy Samhain. We'll see if anybody's out there. I couldn't find my hat, so I put on my wings, which I didn't remember I had. How are you all doing today? Are you already having done your ritual, or getting ready to do your ritual, or not going to do a ritual, which is fine?
Okay, well, we got 5 people on anyway.
All right.
Getting cranked up.
Everything's starting to roll. We got sort of a dim day at the moment.
Dim and drippy.
Yeah, not actively raining right now, but it's definitely overcast.
We just gotta find something that kills off that ivy better.
Yeah, well, ivy is very invasive, there's no doubt about it. So come on and say something so I know you're there. We're down to 3. People came, they left, they went, what is that?
Well, maybe someone will get brave and ask a question.
Maybe so.
What is on our roof?
I don't know. Hey guys. I posted the poem that I wrote. Kamal says, I'm still very new to this field, so your video certainly helps me a lot to learn. Thanks a lot. You're welcome. That's why we put them up there, is to offer people some information and perspective, and hopefully from an experience point of view, so that you're not going to be led down a weird path right at the start, especially when you're just beginning. So welcome to our live chat. We were all new first at some point. We all started somewhere. Even if I remembered a whole bunch of stuff, I still was actually always starting too, so there's always something more to learn about. Always takes us a little while to get rolling. So Ian had his first doctor's appointment last week, and it went well, so hopefully we have a few things taken care of that got mixed up. Other than that, though, nothing new to report there. Everything seems to be stable for the moment.
So far, so good.
So far, so good. Yeah, I wasn't sure if I told you that I posted my poem, the one that I read this time of year for the witches that were burnt. So I put it on my Facebook page, and I put it up on our community page. And we just passed 8,000 members today. So, yay! More people interested. It's always wonderful to find out that people are still, coming along and coming in and stuff. So, I had some weird energy last night, I think. It was just like when I was little, I used to have these like electrical storms in my brain where it felt like electricity. I could hear it and see it. It would shoot through my head. They actually tested me once for epilepsy to see if I had something like that going on, but I didn't. So they never did figure out what it was. And it's come back just in the last couple weeks. And I had some of that happening last night. Actually, I guess the night before last night. I didn't want it to happen. That was what I was doing. Erin says, hello, happy Samhain. Thank you. Happy Samhain to you as well. And for those who are in the southern hemisphere, happy Beltane. Or Merry Beltane. Is it Merry Beltane? I don't know which one it's supposed to be. I don't think it matters. But anyway, yes.
A joyous, delicious, fruit-filled, sugar-filled Beltane. How about that?
That sounds good. A sweet, flowerful,
Yep.
smelly Beltane with lots of colors. But yes, for those of us up here, it's definitely Samhain. And you can really feel winter coming. It's like there's this edge energy kind of thing to the air.
Makes me wish we. Never mind.
Okay. We're not going to go wherever that was.
Don't want to go off subject.
Okay. So I wore my wings because I couldn't find my hat. I figured I was supposed to dress up because it was Halloween, you know. Aaron says the northern lights happened last night. Oh, were you north enough to see them? Here we had too much cloud cover and it's a little bit too far south from where the solar storm was going to hit. Ms. Narco says, I have buzzing in my ears for weeks. Weird like electricity, feels like healing, not ringing at all though. All right, well that's good. Eve says, so glad I finally made it to a live on time. Well, congratulations and welcome to our live. But yeah, I was reading on the solar storm that was heading and seeing where the northern lights were going to be. That's one of the things I miss about living up north, is experiencing the lights. That certainly is an amazing thing. I always thought of it as the veil of the goddess, that, you know, she was dancing and the colored veils of Isis kind of thing, and up in the sky and moving around and so forth. And I can hear them. Not everyone can, but there's a bunch of people who can. And I guess scientists didn't believe us when we said we could hear them until they got better recording equipment so they could hear the level of sound that we were hearing. And it's interesting. It sort of sounds electric to me. It sounds like rubbing electrons, just going shh, shh, shh kind of stuff. So it's interesting. I imagine that means the southern lights were also out, so people in South Africa might have been able to see the lights. Aaron says, we had a little too much light, but I'm in northern Idaho. All right. Ms. Narco says, yeah, I always felt change in seasons. I can smell it, kind of. Yeah. Jonathan says, hi, everyone. I'm looking forward to this live stream. I expect we're going to practice the power of loving kindness even more than normal. Well, okay then. I'm in favor of that. You mean because of the video I did this week? I certainly was thinking about it a lot. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience just making the video this time. Jill says, hi everyone, hope you're having a great day. Thank you. We are actually having a pretty good day here. I actually tried to recreate a childhood favorite dessert yesterday. I just thought, I'm going to try and make this. And it's sort of like an apple bar kind of thing that my mom used to make. And so I was trying to figure out what sort of dough that she might have made. And I had a bunch of apples to use and all this other stuff. And apparently, even if it's not exactly the same, it turned out well enough that it's almost all gone. And I only got it yesterday, so it was a hit. John Quinn says, hello, happy Samhain to you. What are your beliefs on what happens after death? I know you have had past lives. Does this continue perpetually? Well, it depends on how you look at the nature of time. If all time happens at the same time, then it all happens together, so it's not it's not the word I'm looking for. It's not sequential. It's kind of like all at once, but then we remember it sequentially. So in that case, probably yes. Although my higher spirit guardian left this earthly plane and sort of vibrated past the barrier where you can incarnate, so she stopped, but then I was part of her, so I kept going. And so then she came back to help me, or not back as in a body, but back as in a guiding spirit kind of thing. So who knows? It's probably different for every group, I imagine. There's so many different ways that this can happen.
Yeah, and if you're looking at it from some of the mystics' point of view or Barden's point of view, that type of thing, it's the idea is to each lifetime will gradually perfect you a little bit more, until you've reached the point where you no longer need rebirth on the earth, and then you continue in other spheres and things.
So Mia says, oh, hi, happy Halloween. Hi, Mia. Jonathan says the video and the festival lend themselves to friendliness. Video was great. Your heart is too big. Aw. Thank you. Jill says, Ian says it's just the right size. Jill says, happy Halloween, happy Samhain. Yes, thank you. Kamal says, is having weird, vivid dreams very normal? As I dreamt about my uncle who passed away, and it's almost a year, but it was weird because he was crying. Well, this time of year, it's not uncommon for the dead to try and reach us, to communicate and so forth. And I don't know why he might have been crying, but he might have been trying to reach you. And vivid dreams are normal sometimes for most people. So I'm not sure what that part meant. Merchura Blossom says, happy Samhain, such a magical time for us all. Hope everyone will get to enjoy today. Thank you. John Quinn says, thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, so, I mean, you know, when it comes to all of this stuff, is like, everything we think of along these lines is in itself, theoretical. We don't know for sure. You know, I have a lot of personal experiences with things on the other side, and what I see and so forth, which sort of informs my belief in what you will find, which is basically whatever it is you're looking for. But it's not like you can't use the scientific method in order to prove it, you know, because it's ethereal. It's kind of difficult to hold on to. Miss Nancy says, all right, happy Halloween to all of you, my tribe. Mia says, nice costume. Are these wings? Yes, these are wings. Little black fairy wings is what they are. I couldn't find my hat. I thought my hat was in the top of my closet, and I looked up there, and I found all sorts of things, but not my hat. So I didn't have time to get a ladder to go checking through more of my closet to see if I could find it. But hey, you know, last year I wore my cape. This year I wore my wings. Next year I guess I'll wear my hat. If I can find it by then, or make another one. I like my pointy hat. It's fun. I think I always dressed up as a witch, though, a lot from right in the beginning. I was watching some show the other day, and some was dressing as like a fun, beautiful witch, and it was the Canadian show Murdoch, and yeah. I thought, like, yeah, that's the kind of outfit I would like to wear. I like dressing as fairies, goddesses, and witches, and anything else magical. I wore a lot of wings. I made a lot of wings and stuff like that over the years. Apparently I have a thing for wings. So Miss Narco says, beautiful. I feel sometimes like we had wings in the past. I think we dream about having wings sometimes. And you know, the idea of flying, watching the birds and so forth is very, I don't know, freeing. It just seems like a very freeing kind of thing to do.
I dream about flying sometimes. I never dream it with wings. Always doing it by willpower, somehow pushing myself up and along.
You know, when I dream about flying, I don't think I have wings either. I usually like jump. Like I run and I jump, and each time I jump I get higher and higher until I'm up by the trees, and once I get up as high as a tree, it's like the wind will pick me up and then carry me aloft, and then I can float better and stuff, and then I can get up higher and higher and higher. It's usually how it happens in my dreams. Mia says, I don't have a costume. We don't celebrate Halloween in my country. Where do you live, if you don't mind telling us? Ms. Narco says, I feel sometimes like I had wings for the last few months. And Mia says, I celebrate it by myself. Yeah, Samhain is not, Halloween is sort of a combination of Samhain traditions and then church stuff thrown on top of it. But yeah, definitely has its roots in the Celtic cultures, and Samhain actually means summer's end. That's what the word translates as. I just learned today. I'm hoping that's correct, because I just learned it today. I haven't had a chance to check to be sure. So, but yeah, the thing about those holidays that's nice is the fact that they're based on the movement of the sun. It's not doesn't have to be a belief system or a religion or cultural or anything else. It's just this is, like the movement of the seasons is what we're looking at. So for those in the northern hemisphere, we're coming into the darker time of year when it really becomes noticeable that the sun's not out so much. And those in the southern hemisphere, of course, they have the opposite, where they're gaining the sun, which is just way cool that we have differences and stuff that way, but they have the same energetic feelings. It's like when we talk about the different holidays, it's about the energy of that changing of the seasons. This is Samhain is like the last of the harvest festivals. So, and a lot of people consider it the Witch's New Year. So Happy New Year, everyone. Depends on how you count the wheel and which way you do it. Some people count it from the winter solstice. Some people count it from Samhain. So, Mia says, how to see ghosts? Well, it depends. I mean, with an open mind.
Move into a haunted house.
Move into a haunted house. Well, that would help. I mean, if you know you're in a haunted house, then you have a greater chance of seeing ghosts. That would certainly improve your chances.
Barden gives some descriptions of how to do clairvoyance in his first book, which are worth following, but you have to work your way up to that.
Mia says, except when you are dead. Well, yeah, I mean, if you're dead, they're not ghosts, they're just fellow spirits, right? I would assume. Jonathan says, Mia, I celebrated Beltane by myself today. Made a fire, made a crown from an ivy vine, spent some time outside skyclad. It's surely different from group stuff, but I really enjoyed it. Awesome. Spending time in nature is the best way to get in touch with magic, in my opinion. Because that's what it is. That's where it comes from. That's what we're trying to learn how to do, how to become more in tune with the forces that are around us. And the only way to really become in tune is to start to pay attention to the differences and the changes and stuff. So Kamal says, thanks a lot for the reply. That was so kind of you. And again, which divination will be more safe to connect me with him if I want to, though I never still went this far of connecting ever with spirits? Well, since tonight is Samhain, what you can do is you can write him a letter, you can talk to him out loud, to send him a message, because he, it's unlikely that he's a ghost in the sense that we're talking about ghosts, because the dead don't have to be ghosts in order to make connection with us. Ghosts are usually earthbound spirits, and something has gone wrong in their death process, and they've gotten stuck so that they haven't finished transitioning to the other part of what they're supposed to be doing. So, you can write a letter, read it out loud, burn it, and let it take it to the other side. If you have things you need to say, would be a good way of doing that. You can also speak them and breathe on some water, and then pour the water out to send the message. I mean, there's a lot of different methods for communicating with people who've crossed over, and tonight is the best night for doing that because of that. You can light a candle, you can set a place at dinner, put out a plate for him, and just put some food on the plate and invite him to be there, just to have his sense of his presence and that kind of thing. And it's not like you're inviting him to come and haunt you. That's not what you would get with that. Okay, Mrs. Narco says, oh wow, have an open mind. Also, spirits have different forms. And Mia says that Jonathan, cool. Kamal says, but yes, I have a lot of times message been passed in dreams by my ancestors. Feels blessed to have this gift. Good. It's good not to be afraid of your gifts. Violet says, hi, Siofra. Hi, Violet.
Hello.
Jonathan says, Kamal, depends on who your ancestors are. Yeah, some people have got cool ancestors, and, it depends on who you are and how you feel about them. But that's the thing, is like there's so many different ways to do this. And it's like there's no limit to the possibilities. You don't have to follow one way or another. Just like what feels good, what feels right inside your heart, what connects you to these things is what's going to work for you. We're all in the process of trying to develop our own understanding and relationship with the universe and figure out how it's talking. Like my friend was telling me earlier this week that she was on a very different path in school, and she was walking through a pile of books, like a library or a bookstore, and several different books fell off the shelf in front of her, and one of them was on the White Goddess, was the book The White Goddess, and the other one was a book on art from Indonesia. And those two events, those two books falling off the shelf and landing at her feet, changed her path, because she was genuinely interested in those things more than what she was about to do. And so it was clear to me the universe was attempting to communicate with her on the spot and sort of give her a hint. And it doesn't mean she had to follow it. She could have just said, well, that's weird, and put the books back and then continued on the path she'd chosen. So, it's there's never a wrong response when it comes to that kind of thing. So anyway, yeah, it's interesting. But that's the thing about being alive, experience. You get to experience all kinds of things. And then you have to try and figure out what it means. And sometimes you know, and sometimes you don't. And sometimes it's a mystery that never gets solved. There were a whole bunch of things that happened to me when I was younger, and I thought, maybe when I'm dead I'll figure this out, but I can't remember what they are, so I suspect I'll never know. Max Griffith says, so I want to start meditating. How should I? There's a lot of different simple meditations to do. Just, sitting quietly by yourself with your eyes closed and focusing on your breathing coming in and out of your mouth is a form, or out of your nose is a form of meditation.
Yeah, I would add to that, though, for somebody beginning meditation, that's you don't want to let it go to the point where you're thinking about something else and doing it automatically. You need to keep your attention on the breathing, if it's breathing you're starting with, and that is a good one to begin with. And
you can even lay on the ground and watch the clouds and just pay attention to shapes and sounds. And Starhawk had one where you sit and you look at a tree, but you don't focus on what the tree looks like. You focus on the difference in patterns between the light and the dark, and you see the light and the dark patterns, not the tree, and that takes you to a sort of a trance-like state, which is a type of meditation. So being able to connect with things inside of yourself and outside of yourself is kind of the point, really. So Ms. Narco says free will is a fact. Yes, I think so. I consider it a fact. I wish more people would exercise it. It's a muscle. It needs to be exercised.
Well, yeah, but then you've got all the anti-maskers.
Yeah, we don't need to talk about them right now. Ms. Narco said, yes, I love then what you said. I'm glad. Kamal says, thanks again. For sure I'll try any of these and certainly hope I'll get an answer. Yeah, and as far as the meditation goes, I've got the Sacred Tree meditation that I put up is a guided meditation, so you can follow it and visualize it. It's a very in-depth meditation, and so it's not necessarily a good one for a beginner to just jump in, but it's not a bad one to jump into and see what happens. Sort of get used to the different parts of it, how it focuses on different things. So Kamal says, Ms. Narco, yes, I do agree that too. That's the free will. Yeah.
Free willy.
That is he died, didn't he?
I don't know. I never paid any attention to this.
I think he did. We saw him once. They had him up at the aquarium in Newport. Yeah, he was there for a while, and we went up and see him when he was still there. Max says, thanks, Siofra. You're welcome. But yeah, I guess we have a local cat that is making a lot of noise at night, so we're expecting to have some kittens soon. One of our wild animals out there. Ms. Narco says, I recently practiced changing a way of perception, which is an amazing experience. Maybe you can tell us more about it, what you're trying out. Ian is looking out the window.
With that kitty on the roof, hoping it's like still alive. It hasn't moved.
Oh yeah, there is a cat on our roof. Well, I guess we'll find out if it's still there when we're done. We'll have to go up there and find out what's happening.
Probably just taking a snooze.
Probably just taking a nap, one hopes. I didn't know it as a type of meditation. It was a type of meditation. Okay.
Any effective meditation, well, the goal of them is to change your perceptions in some manner or another.
And to help you learn how to control those changes in perception. It's sort of a very broad term, you know. Has a lot of different meanings for different people, like everything else.
Yeah, I suppose if you want to get technical, the technical meaning of meditation, as far as the word goes, the idea is to focus on something entirely so much that you become the object, and then you know everything about the object as if you were the object from its perspective and point of view. So, yeah.
Well, that would be certainly an advanced,
That's advanced,
level
yes,
of meditation.
That's definitely way advanced, yes. That's really what
we don't need to do that right off the gate.
What meditation actually means.
Okay. So Kamal says, I'll be very honest, coming from an Indian society, it's too difficult to make people explain about my journey, but having beautiful souls like you here does make it easier for me to believe. Well, I have a strong connection to a lot of the Hindu gods and goddesses, so does Ian.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure exactly why, if it's a past life or there's just something about us they like. I don't know. But yeah, different cultures have different approaches to a lot of stuff. Jonathan says, I started levitating my fingers by concentrating the air element in them, like Barden says. Freaky stuff feels completely different from just moving them slowly. Extremely exciting for me. I once tried to see if I could move my astral body out of my physical arm and leave my physical arm behind. I started practicing that off and on.
Which is one of Barden's exercises.
When I was going to sleep, it was one of the ones I think one of the spirits gave me when I was younger. And when it worked, it freaked me out. But I had one time where it happened while I was awake, and it was a spontaneous thing that took place. There was a woman I was living with, and she started walking down a flight of stairs, and I was like 10 feet away from her. And I saw that she was going to trip and fall down the stairs, and I said, watch out, you're going to trip. And then she started to trip and started to fall, and I reached out my hand and I grabbed her, even though I couldn't touch her. I grabbed her and pulled her back, and she righted back up and turned to look at me and said, thank you. I said, you're welcome, and then she went down the stairs. So I was able to actually extend my astral body out of my physical body and affect her. And I think I heard about that in a science fiction book that I read.
Like I said, it's one of the things Barden recommends practicing is to move your mental body of your arm outside and then invite your guardian or whatever they put their mental body inside your arm and move it so you have the arm levitated.
Yeah, that's for automatic writing.
So they can write messages and things, yes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Mia says, do you know some spells to bring new friends into your life? Well, join a club. Do something you really enjoy doing. Go take a class. Find like-minded people. I mean, I don't know about a spell specifically, but you could always do like a basic candle kind of a thing where, looking for friends. or something like that, and just put that out there to the universe that you're looking for like-minded individuals. But you have any ideas?
No, that one's so dependent on your personality and things.
Yeah. So,
Don't apologize for joining late.
yes,
Thank you for joining us at all.
that would be Denise.
Yes.
So thank you for being here. We always appreciate people coming in, so we can just chat and have fun. But yeah, I'll see if anything else comes to mind, but that might be a good thing for a honey jar. Looking for friends.
Yeah,
If you built a honey jar, and you put in the things that you liked, the things that were important to you, and then, with the idea that you were going to attract people that also had those things in mind that were important to them.
Yeah, the main thing is, in charging anything up again, is your intention. Intend that that's what it's going to do.
Mia says, thank you. You're welcome. Just throwing ideas out, because, that's what we're here for. But yeah. Yep, that cat still hasn't moved. Now you've got me looking at
I
it.
think it's just asleep, I'm sure.
Yeah, I hope so. We had like a neighborhood cat that died and started haunting our house briefly a couple of times.
But if it starts raining, it'll be gone.
Yeah. Violet says, I wish I was more interactive. I'm still unpacking. I am studying Greek magical papyri right now, too. Okay, good. Unpacking is good. You can organize yourself as you unpack.
There's a whole nother subject I've never delved into, though. I've got a book on Greek magic, but
They have their own system of Kundalini and chakra system, the Greeks. When I was doing my research into different chakra systems, theirs was one that came up, which I thought was interesting. Jonathan says, inspiring story about using your astral body. Part of why finger levitating this is exciting is that it is the first part of Barden's course, which isn't entirely happening within your own mind. Yeah.
that's true, though. If a person had gotten really good at bringing down the elements previous to reaching that stage, might have been able to heat up a room to the point where it would measure on a thermometer, or at least heat up your body where you could measure the temperature increase on a thermometer. I know that Martin Falks, who is a Barden dude, you can find in the internet, has some videos of doing that and some other things, some actual Barden related stuff and video of him doing them directly. Those guys are the real experts. They lived around Denmark and Prague and that area, Opava, over there anyway, and there's some actual Barden students that knew Barden directly. There's some students of their students, and the lineage is passed on, and it's a whole big deal over there. So if you want real Barden experts, those would be the guys.
So Leroy says, weird experience working with Odin. I was meditating and saw an ethereal form of myself trapped under the ice. I broke through and grabbed the ethereal figure's arm. It popped off and was absorbed into my body. Thoughts?
Well, if it was an ethereal form of yourself, I have ideas. But there is something that has been called soul retrieval for years, but basically what it sounds like is that you can supposedly, I don't know if this is fact, but you could supposedly go out, do something astrally, and leave part of your astral body behind because of some emotional trauma or something. And then soul retrieval would be bringing that part of your astral body back into your current life and reintegrating it. And it sounds kind of like that's what you were experiencing there.
Or at least absorbing back some connection
Yeah.
that you've lost touch with, and trying to make a reconnection with that part of yourself, maybe.
Yeah, I don't know for sure if you can actually lose part of yourself astrally like that, but it's been people have claimed so for years, so it might very well be.
Well, from dream imagery and stuff like that, it would seem like it was a positive thing to, like a part of you trapped under ice would be sort of like frozen in time and separate somehow, not totally connected. And then being able to grasp a hold of that and bring it back into yourself would be making reconnecting that aspect of you into your conscious mind. So like taking something
Right,
from the
right,
subconscious
taking it
and
back, yeah.
bringing it into the conscious realm and so forth, that then you can work with it.
At
Would
any
be a
rate,
way.
it sounds to me like a positive experience anyway.
Yeah, me too. So Ms. Narco says, never thought about it this way. Oh, wow, your technical definition was very explanatory. Thank you for this, as it shines much more light on the subject of meditation and how I treat it. It is very empowering, as I have aphantasia, which means I'm not able to see image inside my head, but I felt magic and energy, but I can't imagine things in a way of image, which was very troubling when I wanted to go mainstream way with meditating, as when I close my eyes, I see only eclectic darkness. Sometimes I think that there's a misunderstanding in what we actually mean by visualizing too. I mean, sometimes when I talk about seeing something, most of the times I'm seeing something in my mind, the idea of it pops into my head. Sometimes I'm seeing it physically, like in front of my face, but more often than not, it's an impression. And so there's like a range of experiences associated with the word. So Jonathan says, Mia, for friends, I made myself a charm I carry with me when I know I'm going to meet new people. I charged it to make me more likable. I think the confidence boost makes it work more than anything.
Really, those things can be
Yeah,
kind of
those are
effective if
important.
yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're wearing your favorite shirt or, your favorite color, your favorite piece of jewelry or whatever, if you got positive associations with it, there's no doubt it's going to make your energy more relaxed. And people have a tendency to be wary of people who don't have relaxed energy. So if it's like, I must have a friend now, then it's like, okay, back off.
Unless it's too relaxed.
Well, there's a
What
whole
happened with
range.
Eckhart Tolle, I played that to you, right? His thing is talked about how this woman thought he was going to
Oh, yeah.
murder her in her sleep because he was so mellow and non-confrontational.
Suspicious.
Yeah, he was so non-confrontational. She became suspicious of him, and
That's because she was projecting a whole bunch of stuff, yeah.
she turned out to be she stayed for quite some time after that. After the first night, she thought she had to leave because he was just too quiet, abnormal.
So Leroy says, so helpful. Thank you both. Ms. Narco says, electric. Okay.
Right.
I've never seen an image in my head, even when I tried to. Well, we all have different things we're working with. And that doesn't mean it can't change.
Yeah,
especially as you spiritually evolve when it comes to stuff.
As far as imaging goes, those things are related on a mental plane to the fire element. So anything that would get you to work with the fire element easily would be things you might use to help your visualization. So like looking at a candle flame, not thinking anything, but looking at it and letting it just be with the fire and not be distracted on things, and focus on it and do that for 5 minutes twice a day, like for a couple of weeks, but depending on how bad your visualization ability is, and that will help with your visualization ability and your willpower, and also potentially strengthen your physical vision.
And Ms. Narco says, are you feeling any physical changes last year or two? Energetically speaking, this year definitely. And I think it's the season combined with the pandemic and other things that are going on, but I'm not a big proponent of like us evolving suddenly into another state of reality and, all of a sudden the whole planet is vibrating upwards. I think that might happen to individuals, but I don't think that's going to happen to like everyone kind of thing. Do you watch other witches on YouTube? No, not right now. I'm busy doing my art and my videos and dealing with life, and I really haven't been drawn to watching other witches.
Yeah, mostly it's by the time you get to our age, you've experienced and gone through most of it, so it gets harder and harder to get things from other witches and people that you can use because you already know so much of them. So with me, that's part of it, and then part of it is the time, because to take time away from either my meditations or my art.
Well, there's a lot of things I don't do at this point in my development. I don't do much in the way of divination. I don't go to psychics to ask for their help. I don't need assistance in figuring out where I'm going or what my path is, because my path is pretty solidified.
Yeah, we don't need to do a lot of ritual because of a lot of it has come down to the point of not it being so automatic. The ritual's been done so many times, not longer need to. You just kind of go about living life, and you do it in the process of living.
Right, it's sort of like a constant
become,
presence.
Yeah.
As you move through everything, like, how you pay attention when you're driving, even. I mean, I'm reading people's minds when I'm driving on a regular basis because I want to know what the hell they're about to do, so I'm ready, because, they're going to suddenly get in front of me, or they're going to turn in front of me, or whatever. And so, I use my abilities to survive in that sense all the time. But, yeah. So Ms. Narco says, oh yes, I know what you mean. Thank you. Vanessa says, hey, I'm late, but I'm so happy I finally made it to a live show. Welcome to the live show.
Welcome
Yay.
to the live show.
Denise says, I'm definitely a novice. I have difficulty separating the intellect from the esoteric spiritual. Any advice on letting go of overthinking? Okay, so here's my advice on that. When you go to a movie, if you're going to enjoy the movie, you have to suspend disbelief for while you're watching the movie. It helps, of course, if the movie's well acted and they have a good story and it's compelling and so forth. That's definitely an issue, but it's an idea that on some level, intellectually, that nothing you're seeing is real. This is all made up. There's no real people that are being hurt, one hopes. This is just a representation. It's an acting kind of a thing. But if you suspend disbelief, it can still change your life. It can transform how you see the world, how you feel about things. It can connect you to parts of yourself that you hadn't seen in a long time, or help you realize something about life and the way everything is, and just transform all sorts of parts of yourself. So when it comes to magic, when you're working with magical energies and doing ritual and so forth, suspending disbelief for the process while you're doing it is important, because then you're not standing in your way. You're not separating yourself out from the experience. You're completely involved in and a part of what's happening. And then afterwards, you can look at it and you can use your analytical mind to see, well, what worked, what didn't work, or is that really what happened? You can check in with other people to see if everyone experienced the same or experienced something different and learn something from it.
And I wanted to add one little bit to that, what Siofra is alluding to but not mentioning specifically is thinking like that is a process of analysis. A process of analysis, you're always cutting things into smaller and smaller pieces and then examining those pieces to see what you can learn from them. But you can get to the point where you know, if you're examining a painting, you might be looking at the brush strokes and things, which is all well and good, but it doesn't give you the slightest idea of the overview of what the whole painting looks like.
Yeah, which is, I used your example of the
Yes.
analytical with the music thing in the
music,
video we
yeah.
just did. Yeah. So Mia says, what's your favorite movie? Okay, so I have my all-time favorite list, and there's only a few movies on it. So I can go through them all. The first movie that did that for me was The Fisher King. And I found that was just incredibly transformative, immersive, non-moralizing, you know, just really took you on a journey inside of madness and healing and grief and all sorts of things. So that was the first movie that I saw that really I found so compelling and moving that I decided I needed a new list. So the second movie that I watched that had that similar kind of thing was Fearless. And Fearless with Jeff Bridges, who was also in The Fisher King. And again, the way they did that, you know, you're on a journey of a man who has survived a horrible event and doesn't believe that he's alive. And his belief in his own death or his lack of living is so strong that he's no longer allergic to the things that he is normally allergic to, which confirms his belief that he's not actually alive, that he's dead and nothing can harm him. And the way they did that, it was like a journey that just kept going. And again, not typical, not standard, not moralizing. The third one was What Dreams May Come, which was also with Robin Williams, which I thought was like the best example of what I see, you know, or what I think the afterlife is like. And I've mentioned that one a couple of times. And then the fourth one was The Fountain. And that was an amazing weaving of past lives, future lives, present lives, relationships in all three of them, visually stunning and amazing and difficult to describe. And again, not a typical kind of movie. And that one, I think, bombed at the box office.
Did it?
It did.
Oh, that's
People,
unfortunate.
yeah, but I was glad we went to see that in the theater because the special effects, which were not actually digital, they were microscopic, was just so incredible. But it's like those particular movies took me on like a significant journey into
In
myself.
other words, the whole was more than the sum of the parts.
Exactly. And yeah, so those are my 4 favorite movies of all time. My list of 10 has room for 6 more, but so far, I mean, there's lots of movies I've liked, but they haven't risen to that level of transformative kind of thing. So Jonathan says, Ms. Narco, I'm not so sure you know what a zebra looks like because there is an image somewhere in your mind. Maybe your idea of what visualization is different from how your personal mind works.
Which would be a good point.
Hello, Vanessa. Denise says, hi, Vanessa. Kamal says, Ms. Narco, physical changes as in. Probably something else in there that is... Okay, it got lost, all right. Ms. Narco says, thank you, Siofra. I feel the same about jumping to the 5th dimension or 4th, etc., but I have weird, like literally physical symptoms of energetic spinal source, I believe. That could be Kundalini and energetics body stuff going on, and that's something that sort of continues throughout my life. So I'm always seeing it, and like I said, I've been getting those electrical storms in my brain again, like I did when I was little, which I can tell you are not fun. I don't like them. Like it's starting to fall asleep, everything's nice, and all of a sudden, like this, it's just like, all right, I'm afraid to go to sleep now. It might happen again. But apparently there's nothing physical. So Denise says, that's a great analogy. Thanks so much. I feel I'm pretty old to be starting the journey, 54. So that I thank you so much for that. Very helpful. You're welcome. And we all start at some point. It's never too late to begin. Ms. Narco says, I think my boy, I'm purging super fast since March. Okay. So Shay says, hello all, happy Samhain. Hi Shay. You made it for your break. Mia says, do you believe in astrology? Well, I believe that astrology is out there and that people use it, if that's what you mean. Or if you mean, do I believe that astrology decides what my fate is and what's going to happen to me, then no. But if what you mean is astrology is like a basis of background noise or whatever of things that were going on when I was born and could have influences on me, then yes. There's no straight answer to that question.
I believe basically, personally, that it's good depending on who's doing your chart and how much they understand. That the value of the chart you get can depend entirely on the person who's doing it.
Absolutely. Their ability to interpret things.
Yeah.
So Jonathan says, Siofra, Ian, relates to your video this week with men specifically. Does intellectual ability relate or correspond to magical ability? Experiences welcome. I think that intellectual ability is often a detriment when it comes to magical abilities, because what we were talking about, the suspension of disbelief.
Can be, and that intellectualism tends to be an air element in excess a lot of times. So while the air can lift you up, so to speak, metaphorically, it can also make you lose contact with the ground, and so you get really, up so high in thought that you can't ever make it down to the earth plane to realize something. Or I don't think I'm saying what I mean, but I'm sure you understand.
I don't think that the smarter or more intellectual you are, the better magician you'll make.
Yeah, not necessarily at all.
I mean, okay, so I met this woman.
Balance.
I met this woman when I was pretty young. My first husband and I were living in a house that had a lot of heroin addicts and stuff in it. There were spoons out on the roof and whatnot. And to look at her, she was not very good looking. To listen to her speak, she wasn't extremely intelligent, not a sharp wit or anything like that. And then I sat down one day and talked to her, and she talked about seeing the earth from space, because she had out-of-body experiences on a regular basis, and what that meant to her and what she learned from that. And that taught me that it's not necessarily just about the surface of things, and trying not to judge people by first impressions necessarily. My mom had a story when she was young. She heard this voice, a woman's voice, coming from a yard next door. The most beautiful voice she'd ever heard in her life. And she was just mesmerized by this woman singing, and she finally went and had a look to see what this woman looked like, and she said she was the ugliest woman she'd ever seen in her entire life. That she was not just ugly, but misshapen and distorted and everything else, and that taught her the same kind of lesson. That it's the heart, it's the meaning is in the feeling and the heart of things, not in the intellectual understanding of things. I have met some really asshole philosophers who really think that they're smart, but have absolutely no clue what they're doing.
Because you have to have enough air in you to be able to realize what works and what doesn't, and be able to sort things out a little bit. So balance again.
Always balance.
Best magician, balance, and self-discipline.
So Jonathan says, Ian, you're a sharp guy. Your screwdriver analogy last week moved my perceptions. Your curling analogy is poetry, not my normal experience.
Well, thank you. I'll take that as a compliment.
I think it's meant as one, too. Violet says, I started so late like that, too. About 54, now 61. On November 8th. Subachek says, watching this with the ambience, haunted house Halloween ambience with relaxing spooky sounds on in the background. Very nicely thematic on this day. I recommend. Happy Samhain. Happy Samhain to you as well. Then he says, wow, thanks for that, Violet. Ms. Narco says, I do apologize for some of the sentences as I have tiny keyboard and make mistakes. I will focus more. I am also newbie in commenting on live chat and learning how to communicate. You're doing fine as far as I can tell.
Yeah.
Fine as everyone else.
You may have a tiny keyboard, but I have fat fingers, so I have problems with a regular keyboard.
Yes,
so.
you combine him with a tiny keyboard and, oh boy, there's a lot of cursing.
Yeah, I can't, a lot of phone stuff I can't make much use of. My fingers are too big for their little on-screen keyboards and things.
Jason says, you saved my life a couple of times, but your last video spoke right to me. I'm glad. I mean, I was moved to do that video because I felt it was important, obviously, or I wouldn't have done it. So I'm glad it was a good thing for you. Violet says, Denise. Ms. Narco said, effectively, what do you think of an effect of programming society via all media nowadays? Well, that would be, up to each of us to decide whether we're going to be programmed or not. So it certainly can happen. Vanessa says, any advice on trusting ourselves? I feel like I'm always doubting myself. Well, that's a big thing, isn't it? I mean, being able to trust our own intuition and so forth. It's like experience helps. I mean, I know that if I get to the point where I don't listen to it, then I'm in trouble. I mean, I've had enough encounters and experiences in my life where I had this niggling feeling, like, this little voice that says, or, do this, and ignored it, and then always been sorry, and there's been a reason for it. And so learning to trust yourself is partly about experience, and then learning who you are so you know when it's your own voice.
Yeah,
and it's not the voice of someone else, like some society voice, or a book voice, or another personality voice, or a fear voice or whatever, but a true voice, your true self, giving you an inspiration or an idea or trying to move you out of harm's way. So it's a process.
Yeah, it is.
So Denise liked the asshole philosophers, yes. I didn't care for them. Violet says, I use a stylus now. Jason says, I have Tourette syndrome, so I can relate. Yeah. Ian says, Denise, I am passing your comment, but no profanity, please. Well, she was just repeating what I said, so.
Yeah, well,
I try not to because I don't want to get in trouble with, the YouTube universe.
Well,
but
I just wanted to point out that any comments with any profanity in them will automatically be held, so I'll have to notice them to pass them through.
Yeah.
So.
Okay. Violet says, Vanessa, great one. And Jason says, the electric storm. Miss Narco says, I mean, it is happening, right? Even logos are sigils. Well, some of them might be, but we did have that when, I think around the same time the Lawnmower Man movie came out. They had a lot of magical sigils in that movie that went by really, really super fast, subliminal kinds of stuff. Around the same time, we were taking a trip and we were on the I-5 corridor in Oregon, and we stopped at a rest stop, and there were all these people wearing demon sigil shirts. It was like on their backs, and I'm thinking, this really doesn't seem like a bright idea. I mean, maybe they're not working, but what happens if they are? And, but...
Yeah, chances are it's probably pretty benign if people aren't trying to charge them up and stuff, but, yeah. You don't want something like that getting connected. But then everything becomes a symbol of some sort, depending on the mass of people thinking about them and things like that. And if it's a statue, like a sacred statue, like the Virgin Mary or something that has a lot of people and a lot of force behind it, they can even have healings and things come through from that.
Well, yeah, you can create a conduit.
And so all that stuff gets built up in the atmosphere. So I don't encourage things that would increase the amount of effect that negative things would have on our society and such.
So Violet says, what symbol are you wearing today? If you already answered, don't do it twice. I haven't already answered. I'm wearing 2 different pentagrams. This is probably this is the first pentagram I ever bought myself, and it has a moonstone in the center. And I think I got this in the 80s when I was in Santa Cruz, so probably 86, 87, somewhere around there. And then this is also a pentagram in the right direction, yeah. And then it has little moons. I'll show it closer since it's the smaller one. So it has crescent moons around the outside and a circle around it. And we were looking for, yeah, it doesn't show very well. Yeah, put it on here. Anyway, Maybe it works better if I go like this. I don't know. But it is a pentagram with 2 circles around it and crescent moons around the outside on the points. And we were looking for something for us to use as a group, just to have sort of when we were doing a group, to have a group symbol. And
now we have a nice pentagram anyway.
But we don't have the group, but we still have the pentagram. So, yeah. But they're both pentagrams. So.
And Denise, there's no reason to apologize there. Like I say, I just want to let everybody know that if you do, it'll get held. So if I miss it or something, just so you know wherever.
It's automatic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still getting some idiot people that apparently don't realize that if they put a link to a porn site on a comment, it's not going anywhere and I have to hide them from the channel. I can't believe that they think that works, but oh well. So Mia says, I have a cool story to tell. So when I was in 2nd grade, 8 to 9 years old, on a technology lesson, we were learning about knots. The knots were written in the school book, so there was written one knot that has meaning to dreams come true. Well, interesting to find that in a school book. So I did this knot, made a wish, and it worked. And all the times I used it, it worked. I tried to search, but that knot is but. There is no knots like that, so I don't know what is the name of it, and now don't use...
Hey, if it works, go
hey,
ahead.
if you can remember how to make it, you can always do a drawing and send it to us, and we can all learn the knot. That seems like an inspiration to me. Seeing stuff that's not there later, that's one of those definite spirit kinds of
Well, I just saw
inspirations.
A book that wasn't there later, but then it turns out it might have been Coyote making a joke. So.
Oh yeah. Well,
Anyway.
I saw tomorrow's newspaper one day, but I didn't realize it was tomorrow's newspaper till it was all over, so I couldn't use any information in the newspaper. Oh well. Jonathan says, I asked the intelligence question because to me it is almost as if spirituality is hindered by cleverness. In organized religion, it is obvious that the philosophers mostly missed the point entirely. Yeah, I tend to agree.
I agree, yeah.
Ms. Narco says, that's what I meant. I think most of the West progress comes from using ancient magic, which was lost for us as they burned books and killed all of our magi's. Well, actually, the knowledge is not lost. It's in the trees and the rocks and the sky and the birds and the grass, and the real knowledge isn't written down. It's something that you can rediscover through feeling. So I think we need to get rid of those.
How?
I don't know, you're in control.
Well,
if you get there, block it. So Jonathan says, Mia, very cool. I haven't tried it or tied it yet, but knot magic is a thing. I've read a number of knot magic spells. I think there are some in 5,000 spells. Violet says, is webcam a delete thing? He's in the process. So don't click on it. Apparently. All right. It's all gone. Thank you. We have deleted them. Ironic that I was just talking about it before it happened. You think it made them know? And they decided...
somebody probably listening is...
And they thought it was funny?
Yeah, thought it would be funny to...
Yeah, well, they're gone now.
Be an asshole.
Denise says, right on time with the icky sites. I know, I don't think it's a coincidence, so... I guess I shouldn't have mentioned them in the first place. That attraction thing going on here, I say something and bam, there it is. It's like, pfft. Okay. People.
Well, it amazes me that people are enough assholes to do something like that just to be an asshole for no other reason. I mean, this person is an asshole only for the purpose of being an asshole.
Well,
they know it's not going to get them anything on the page, so here you got somebody, a jerk, who's got nothing better to do with their time whatsoever than to be a jerk.
Apparently.
They could be doing anything to help themselves, but no, they'd rather be on annoying other people.
Well, we don't need them to ruin our day.
Well, no, they won't. It's just amazing. Such people have such worthless lives that they have to do that.
So Violet thinks that these are bat wings. I thought they were fairy wings. I think they're black fairy wings. That's what they are.
I agree. Black fairy wings.
They're black fairy wings. Violet says, ha ha ha, a-holes are everywhere. Yes. apparently we're going to be saying that a lot in this episode. So.
Oh no, hopefully that'll be it.
But yes, knot magic is a definite real thing, and you don't have to have a specific knot to do it. The idea is that, you as you say the spell or say your intention and you make a knot, you're like cementing your will, and then you do it again. A lot of times there's a specific number of times you do the knot in order to activate the spell. And then there's other kinds of knots that are like, in the old days, they would have a knot that would take your measure, like when you were first initiated into a coven. That's where they got the idea, I guess, or that's one of the things that they do, where they make a knot for the circumference of your head and of your waist and a length, I think, your height. And then they kept that knot that represented you, so if you were then captured by the Inquisition, they could use that to magically kill you, to keep you from revealing any secrets, and you agreed to that at the time. It was sort of like a fail-safe. I don't know if they really did it or not, or if it's just a story that they did it. Sometimes those things, someone makes it up and it just keeps on going and you don't know for sure. So Jonathan says, no class whatsoever. They should know that we all use Pornhub like civilized people.
Very good.
Jonathan says, thank you, Denise. Yeah, life is interesting, isn't it? They just keep on going around. It's like, ah! But yeah, I started watching a documentary today, and yesterday actually, and it's strange. It's called The Evil You Know. And the first series was on a self-professed Satanist who killed some people, and watching the process and everyone going through was definitely interesting. It's just very odd. The second one is on a woman who has a podcast that talks about the Illuminati and the reptilians and whatnot, and the people around her that end up dead one way or another. But it's just like they're calling that one the vampire witch. And the poor woman who's being called the vampire witch isn't a witch at all. She just has long dark hair and was wearing black. And people decided that she was a witch and a vampire. And it's just the assumptions that we can make about other people based upon very little information. It's interesting anyway. So the prejudices that we have, or our perception of reality and what's really going on, can really color the information that we see and what we hear, and what we learn or don't learn. It's interesting. So it's weird though. It's just because it's Samhain that they're playing it, I think. It's like, makes me think about that. When we were talking about media and programming and that kind of thing, sort of similar in that sense. But I think I knew I was a witch when I was pretty young, and everyone else figured it out too. But mostly they were afraid of me. Either afraid of me or when I got older attracted to me. Because they saw that it was a dangerous power thing. It's like,
That's not why I was attracted to you at all.
No, thank you very much. You saw me for myself, and probably the first person ever who did see me for who I was, which was a huge gift. Yeah. Yeah, when you can find someone who actually sees you for who you are, it's hard to explain how important and incredible that is as a gift. So as we learn more about ourselves, if we can learn who we are, then we're more able to potentially see someone else for who they are. And rather than just projecting stuff all over them. Violet says, you guys are so fun.
Well, thank you. That's a good thing.
Well, we like being fun, and laughter's good medicine.
The Wizard of New Zealand got fired.
What?
Says Jonathan.
He was a jerk? I did not remember that New Zealand had a wizard. I think you told us about that, but it's not like in our top of mind kind of thing. So, okay, I guess.
Too bad if they had to fire their wizard, though. They should
get
another one. Everybody should have a wizard that they...
Well, there's one country in Europe that has a philosopher, right? A state philosopher?
Yeah, that was...
Was that Norway or
I think it was
Finland?
one of the ones in that along those lines. Norway or Finland or somebody. I'm thinking Norway, but maybe I'm wrong. But yeah, they had an official philosopher.
Yeah, his entire job was to make sure that they weren't doing something that was questionable, ethically speaking. So, like, if they were going to, like, put all their money in one pot, and he went, like, that's the wrong pot, they went, like, okay, let's find another pot. I don't know. But, yeah. Well, it's sad when wizards are jerks. It probably makes all other wizards look bad.
Yes, it does.
Oh, well. Perception. But, yeah. Yeah, the misunderstandings that the media and people in general have about what we do is, like, really quite remarkable. Melissa says, Happy Samhain from Killarney, Ireland. Hi, Melissa, and thank you ever so much. Are you doing a bonfire tonight? Or are you already in the night over there, so maybe you already have one? Taylor says, hello, everyone. Hi, Taylor. Nice to see you. Oh, yeah, and just as a quick reminder, I think next week our time zone gets changed, or we go through daylight savings time or something, so...
I thought they were going to end that.
Well, they are eventually, but apparently not now. So we're going to be an hour earlier if your time doesn't change. But if your time does change, it'll be the same time, so there. I don't know everyone's time zone. Denise says, wizards who are jerks probably know the a-hole philosophers. Yep, they probably have a chat room where they talk about it. Well, I was, in a relationship with a psychologist, a Jungian psychologist. He was the guy that wrote all the books about me. And the thing that he said that was really telling was that he liked me better when I cried than when I laughed, because he believed in my sadness, but not in my joy. So that's why he's in the rear view. And Ian thought that was a horrible thing to say to somebody.
Wow, really?
Right, he loves it when I laugh. He does not like it when I cry. Unless it's for a good movie, which is different, But yeah, a good cry. Hi, everyone, Denise says. Melissa says, yes, we have bonfires here. Home now, though. Kids have school tomorrow. Oh, that's right. Tomorrow's a Monday. Well, good. I'm glad. Denise says, that was a crappy thing to say. I agree. I kind of looked at him and I thought, seriously? How the heck am I ever going to experience joy if every time I do, you question its validity? It's like, not good. Jonathan says, you make a good point about bad examples making a whole group look bad. The thing with black cats makes the magically inclined look terrible. Most Christians make Christianity look awful. Yeah, that's a sad but true statement.
It's true, yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
And so my sister is reading a book called Route 666. Apparently this is a road that is not far from where she lives in Virginia. It's in her county. And she was very excited. She decided to read the book. She's not particularly interested in those books in general, but she thought it's a neighborhood thing. I should read the book. And in it was a Wiccan massage therapist. So she had to call me up on the phone to tell me that. I didn't have the heart to try and explain to her yet again that I wasn't a Wiccan, but I thought, okay, it was funny. But yeah, speaking of things that can make you look bad, I don't know if that one was one of them or not, but just made me think of it. So there. I like the black cats, though. Around here, they don't let people adopt them this time of year. You have to wait till after Halloween because they're too concerned about really bad people doing bad things to little kitty cats. We don't need that. It's like, everything eats something. Life is like that. Life and death are intertwined, but there's no reason to go the extra mile to torment a living thing that you don't need for food and has nothing to do with it at all. That's just cruelty and not okay with me.
I'm shaking my head.
He's going...
Yeah.
But oh well. But yeah. We have some trees that have changed color, so that's kind of nice. But what I noticed this time of year is that the evergreens start to come alive more. It's almost like when the deciduous trees start to change color and start to lose their leaves, it's like the evergreens just pick up. It's like they perk up and they just go like, ah! It's just our time.
Like all that extra water.
Yeah. I don't know. It's just pretty awesome. So Denise says, exactly, I agree. Taylor says, do you have a favorite candy? Anything chocolate. I like chocolate, but I don't think I have a favorite chocolate. It depends on the mood I'm in. Mia says, what time is that now? Every Halloween night I want to sleep even if nights before I can stay awake until 5 a.m. What's time is that now? I don't know. Right now it's 3:12 in our time, if that helps. I'm not sure what you're asking. But I have a hard time sleeping around the full moon. And, oh, that's right. I think I had a Thor guy come and visit me a few nights back. I don't think it was Thor himself. I think it was like a Thor representative, maybe, or something. It was in the middle of our big storm last week, actually. I was going to bed, and all of a sudden there was this guy standing in my room with a big beard, and he had this helmet thing on that came down like this and came up this way, and then had wings coming up like this on the side of his head, looking like a Viking. And I'm like, okay, I've never seen you before. Hi. And he wasn't there for very long. Mia says, yes, I like chocolate too. It's its own food group. That's what I think. A nice, what do you call those? Truffles. The chocolate truffles.
Yeah, chocolate
and
truffles.
He got me with truffles once. He was talking about truffles, and he told me something about pigs hunting them. And we were looking at chocolate truffles, so I thought he was insane. And that obviously isn't true, but I forgot about the fungus truffle that pigs do hunt. So, oh well.
I did it on purpose, I have to admit.
He was being funny.
I used to tease a little bit.
Yes. Miss Narco says, that's empowering, thank you. I'm just starting to connect to the nature. I started my path 1.5 years ago. Not a witch yet, but getting there. I need more knowledge. Any advice on reading nature?
Be in it.
Yeah, being in it is the best thing. That's really the only thing. Violet says, it's so incredible the beings you see. Yeah, well, you know, sometimes I only ever see them once, so I don't know. It's just I notice them. But yeah, he didn't feel powerful enough to actually be Thor. I mean, he didn't have that god energy that I've encountered before, so I think he was like a storm representative or something, maybe. I don't know. But he wasn't there for very long. He's there, and then he was gone, and whatnot. You know, being a witch isn't necessarily about your knowledge and your ability to do stuff. It's about your attitude towards life and connecting with the world around you. So it's a way of seeing the world and being in the world that's different from other people. And like feeling the shifts in energy, the throughout the day, the tides of movement, large and small, you know, coming through your life, becoming aware of those currents that are around everyone, and it's that awareness of those currents that starts you being able to access one current over another, or ride a current in the direction you want to go. I don't think of this as controlling the nature around me. It's more of being in tune with the nature around me and figuring out which way things are going and whether it's going a way I want to be or I want to go, and then getting a ride so it doesn't have to be all me. It's like, you know.
Yeah, use the tides, the days, everything to your advantage for that.
Yeah.
Not just tides as in ocean tides, but you know, the tides and the energies.
Well, yeah, if you can read the energy, it helps to avoid like a lot of beating your head against a brick wall and not getting anywhere. Because if you know that that's a brick wall, what you want to do is to find a current that's going around that wall and avoid the wall altogether, you know. And so it's a matter of making your life easier and making your path more open. Because if you're too focused on getting into one place at one time in one specific way, then you miss the 100 different other ways there might be to get there that might be easier than the one you've picked. So, you know, when you get resistances, that's when you check in. You look at the resistance and try and figure out, is this a test like of my will and my desire to go in this direction, or is this a message that says find another way to get there? And then, of course, making your decision and seeing the results decides whether it was one thing or the other. But yeah, it's difficult to quantify because it is. It's like it happens all the time. It's in everything, every action, every decision. It's all about paying attention. It's a type of attention that we have, and that's what a witch is. It's not doing the spells or even doing the rituals. It's that connection with nature and attention to the forces that are around us and figuring out how we want to navigate them.
Getting in harmony with things.
Yeah. Figuring out how we're going to navigate that.
Yeah. Harmony is good.
Harmony is good. Certainly better than strident notes. But hey, you know, it's one of those things that's difficult to explain. But it's because of that, I think, you know, having been born with abilities to, you know, having premonitions and things and whatnot, and knowing things I'm not supposed to know, and discovering how uncomfortable that made everybody around me, you know, trying to suppress it, but it didn't work because it is my nature. Getting to the point where it's okay to just accept who we are, and we don't have to be like everyone else, and we don't have to, follow a specific path in order to be who we are. So Ms. Narco says, I understand, Siofra, so not casting spells is not a bad thing? No. I mean, I went for years without doing anything that I would consider spell work in particular, you know. Self-development is really the biggest thing you can do. It's all about becoming you. And spellcasting, if it's necessary, fine, but you know, I don't go around trying to find something to cast a spell on. If something comes up and I think I need it, I have like probably the most common one that I do is when a crow gives me a wing feather and I have lost my feather in my car. I'll take some red thread and I'll whip an end on the shaft of the feather and then make a loop around it, and I'll hang it off of the mirror, the rear view mirror of my car, and it's my version of a protection spell because the crows and I have a relationship, and this is what I understand is that the wing feather is for that, for travel and for protection. The tail feather is for something else, you know. So that could be considered a spell, but I don't even think of it like a spell. It's just like, okay, this is what I do. I made one for my granddaughter when she found a feather and showed her how it was done. So, you know, it doesn't have to be that. So Ms. Nargo says, oh, thank you for answering. You were reading my mind. Jonathan says, probably the most important thing I've learned here so far is that mundane is magical. And this is true. Mia says, I don't cast spells. I think I have everything I need already. Jonathan says, Siofra, are your gnome friends talking yet? No, I haven't seen them in a while. So, you know, who knows? Violet says, the red signifies protection in my mind. That's the reason why I use red thread for that. Who knows if it means that to anybody else? Violet says, mundane is so necessary. Well, yeah. You want food on your table, right? Hindsight becomes clear through it. Yeah. it's always easier to see things from behind, from in front of it, to look behind and go like, well, I could have done that better. And nothing wrong with learning from your mistakes, but then to beat yourself up over the head for them, then that doesn't work either. Sarah says, hello, Siofra, Ian, and everyone new here. So glad I found your channel. I've realized I've been on this path my whole life, just never had the language to communicate it to myself until now. Well, welcome to the channel.
Welcome.
Yes, I know the first time when I realized I wasn't alone, I was very excited, especially since I was born at a time when things were pretty spread apart and there wasn't much in the way of actual communication. You couldn't just like randomly find people who you'd never met and find out that you were alike. Violet says, hee hee. Mia says, at Sarah, hi. Yes, we're almost to the end of our show, but please join us next time. We do this every Sunday unless something comes up, in which case I'll post something in the community bulletin board and let everybody know. But so far we've only missed a couple of shows for different reasons. Yeah, because we enjoy this. We have a good time with this, and it helps us to think on our feet and find out what people need to know, what they're interested in, and what their concerns are, and so forth. So, yeah.
So it helps keep us from being so isolated down here in Coos Bay, too.
This is true.
All the media stuff we've got now.
Yep. It's kind of interesting. Violet says, it is so great you share with us. So great. I'm glad.
Thank you very much. We're glad.
Ms. Narco says, I am also so excited I'm not alone. I think that hurts the most, as we are a social species. This is true. And when we're completely isolated and alone, we think there's something wrong with us. And when there isn't anything wrong with us, it's like the self-doubt is just insane. It gnaws at you, and without some kind of form of acceptance and some validation from another human that, you really aren't crazy. I'm lucky I connected with the trees fairly early, and they were the ones who validated me before all this other stuff. Without them, I don't know that I would have survived emotionally, because, they really saved my spirit, my heart, and my life in reality, having a actual communication and connection with them like I have. So Jonathan says, Mia, Siofra, I'm not so sure. I see no harm in doing luck or health or protection spells. I don't know why you guys don't do more spell work, even a spell to make the garden grow better. Why not? Well,
one thing is, like, for me, all of my time and stuff is taken up, all my mental energy is taken up working on my own self-development. So I don't work on mundane things so much, because really the most important part to me is the self-development, self-improvement.
Just all depends on what you're focused on.
I mean, and you talk about doing spells, because I have about half a dozen projects that I'm working on that are long-term projects that I just keep working on, and sometimes it's better to not start new spells, but just keep adding energy to the old ones till I get to the level to do where you want. So
we have world spells that we're working on a regular basis, like our Peace Ball and the Amethyst Crystal Web project and so forth. So it's not like we're not doing spells, it's just that we have very specific ones we're working on.
And a lot of times they don't need to be spells, as you mentioned a couple of weeks back or whenever it was, to what was it that we should... Oh, never mind. That thought was went. I'm sorry.
Okay.
My brain is cooked at this time of day.
Okay, so Sarah says, yes, for once I feel like I'm being breathed instead of gasping for air. It's such a sweet relief. Yes. Oh, Mia says, I was scared when I found out there are some spirits in the world. Well, did you look in a mirror and realize that you were one too? When people tell me that they're afraid of spirits, I'm like, but you are a spirit. You just happen to be in a body right now. And they're like, what? Like, uh-huh. Just all how you look at it. Mia says that, Jonathan, because I can do everything physically, but actually sometimes I do healing. Well, healing is certainly something I work on regularly too, but I don't consider it spell work. It's just energy work.
Well, yeah, that's exactly it about a lot of this stuff. We do a lot of stuff, but don't know if you consider it spell work. I do mantra twice a day most of the time for some time. I spend time doing that, and I don't know if that counts as spell work. That's basically Hindu. and other energy work and things. So we actually keep busy.
So Ms. Narco says, I don't do spells as I am afraid of causing damage, as I am not so knowledgeable enough to be sure I am not causing any unseen karma for me, changes for the world which would be harmful and unreversible. Well, yeah, and actually
That's wise.
That's a very wise approach to take, because we don't know everything, and everything we do is going to have some reverberation. You throw a pebble in the pond, you're going to make ripples and affect everything else. Throw a boulder in a pond, you're going to affect a lot more, and it may look really splashy and fantastic,
Yeah.
but it may not be so great for the pond. I don't know.
One thing is to think about everything you're going to do ahead of time and make sure that you can't see any. There are some things that just seem certain that they won't cause negative consequences in general, but you still
Yeah.
have to be careful. A friend of mine who lived in Medford did a love spell once, decided he wanted to, and he attracted a young lady. It worked, and it got him in trouble, as all of his magical stuff usually did when it worked, because it turns out he was over 18, she was only 16. She told him she was 18. He believed her. Turned out she was the daughter of a local police sheriff somewhere. I think it was like Gold Hill, Oregon, or somewhere. So now, not only did he get involved with an underage woman whose father was like a cop, so that's his version of spell work. Sometimes worked to his own confounding. So you have to be careful.
So Jonathan says, part of the reason I feel this way is that spell work is fun. I enjoy it. Making charms is great fun. Well, good. I'm so happy that you're having a good time, and that's fine. I would love to see a picture of your pet giraffe, by the way. You mentioned that you had a pet giraffe, and I wondered, I would like to see it, if you don't mind, at some point in the future. But we are running over at this point because we're having so much fun. We always tend to get on a roll as we go.
And yes, spell work is fun.
And yes, spell work can be fun. So we'll leave it at that, and happy Samhain to all of you out there, and thank you for joining us today. And certainly write in questions, watch the videos, figure out what it is you're interested in. You can send me an email at chiefrasmagicalcove@gmail.com, or you can send me a friend's request at Chiefra Bradigan on Facebook. So thank you all for being here, and enjoy. Stardust says hello. Chiefra and Ian, blessed Samhain. Thank you, and
Thank you, and goodbye.
we're off.